The Rainy75 is currently the most popular budget keyboard, now live on Kickstarter. I have the Pro version with the E-white coating, JWK WAP switches, and FR4 plate. If you're looking for the specs and features, you can head over to WAPKey's website instead. I will mostly focus on my thoughts about the board after using it for a week straight. I'm not sponsored in anything, I just got early access, so I won't be holding back. For some context, this is one of my first budget aluminum boards and my first time using foams that come with the kit. I'm a bit of a purist, as I like my wing keyless 60% with a 7U spacebar, split backspace, and no foams. I haven't really ventured beyond that until now, so I won't be able to compare to other budget boards. Nevertheless, I'm here to bring a new perspective and determine whether you can get quality for $100. As I wrap up the unboxing, I will say that the packaging is nice, if not slightly excessive. The dust cover looks useful, but it's not for me. I wish it came with a carrying case, but I understand why it's omitted. The board has a classic colorway and design, with the cream, beige, and black, and the box on wedge. It has a pretty average front height. I don't feel like I need a wrist rest. The center USB-C port is not too low or too high, and fits any USB cable. The weight is definitely the standout feature. It looks mesmerizing, like raindrops on a car window, and feels sturdy, like I can touch it without worrying about fingerprints and scratches. Now here's a straight out of the box sound test. The stock experience is great. It sounds clean, crisp, and not too foamy. I was worried it would sound only like PE foam, but it still has some character. It feels solid to type on, which negates the perky flex cuts, thankfully. I honestly enjoy this configuration, even with foam stuffed to the brim. I would much rather listen to foam than bare flex cuts for the fuller and stiffer typing experience. My only criticism is the spacebar, which sounds very thin and weak. I later discovered that removing the spacebar plate foam brings some life to it. The build, or rather the unbuild, is decent. I like how the screws can stay in the screw holes when loosened. I don't enjoy flipping boards over to remove screws, as they sometimes drop in the worst places. However, it's very inconvenient having to remove so many keycaps and switches in order to free the top case. Like, why block the screw hole? Otherwise, the pre-installed battery and gaskets make the build very simple and straightforward. The dumbbells are one of my favorite gasket implementations. They're easy to install and use, although I wish they clipped in tighter as they fall out quite easily. It's also both satisfying and annoying to align them into the holes. In terms of feel, they provide a slight bounce, though the flex cuts affect the overall feel significantly more. I noticed that with the case foam, the gaskets are almost floating, so it becomes more like stack mount, which I definitely don't mind. The plate mount stabs are factory lubed quite well but feel a little rattly. However, with the Band-Aid mod, they are rock solid like any PCB mount stabs. This solidifies my hot take that plate mounts can be as good as PCB mounts with just a few mods. If you just hate plate mounts though, you'll need an add-on plate that's PCB mount compatible, which really sucks. The keycaps are pretty standard for budget double-shot PBT, with sharp but inconsistent and slightly raised legends and weird banding around the bottom of each keycap. I personally care more about the sound and feel than the looks, and that's where they shine. The keycaps feel very smooth but not slippery, similar to CRP and Ranked. They sound loud and full, even more than GMK in certain configurations. Here's a comparison with plate foam only. These WOB switches are the best quality I've seen from JWK. They lack JWK's signature leaf ticking, have excellent factory lubing, and actually sound lively. I can imagine myself running them stock in my personal boards, which I've never said for any other JWK switch. Hot take, but I'm glad I chose these over the HMX Violets. I had a tough time with the firmware, but hopefully I can guide you through it. I suggest that if you find all the shortcuts you need in the user manual, then you should ignore VIA. Once you start remapping, you basically lose those shortcuts, unless you manually reset them. Fortunately, VIA should have functions that correspond to all the shortcuts. Particularly, the special shortcuts can be found in the custom tab. For example, 3 mode equals function tab, and key scan delay equals function H. To use VIA, follow the link to their very sketchy website and go to Download Center, where you can download a folder with 4 JSON files. Load the appropriate file based on the model and connection mode. You should see a Rainy75 definition, then you can start remapping. If the configurator doesn't load like it did for me, switch connection modes and try again. My biggest firmware issues are the macros not working for some reason, specifically those with the control key and the indicator lights that can't be turned off. They shine on some layered keys and occasionally on the escape key, even after establishing a wired connection. Otherwise, it's cool to finally see wireless with VIA compatibility, despite being only with the dongle. I'm just not used to the inconvenient on-off switch and not knowing when the keyboard is turned on. Next, I'll do a sound comparison of each individual foam. All of them will have the PET bottom sheet for bottom-out protection. Based on which foams I liked in these sound tests, I made what is probably my favorite configuration to end this video. I know this review was pretty subjective, but I prefer sharing my experiences than just reading the stats. Would I recommend the Rainy75? Absolutely. The whole package feels solid. You don't even have to be a beginner to appreciate it. I mean, I had a blast using it over all my foamless premium boards, and I will miss it for sure, as my friend has already claimed this unit. Thank you Wapkey for this opportunity, and thank you for watching. I'll see you later.